So Konami are giving us 3 free players, 1 free spin, and 2 from completing challenge events. And I've had a look at them, and I think 2 of them look very good, and 1 of them doesn't look great at all. So starting off with the players that look good, the first player we're going to take a look at is Kevin De Bruyne. So if we look at his build, I think he actually looks like a really good player. He's got great dribbling stats, great passing stats, good finishing, and great kicking power. So there's nothing too crazy about him. If we take the boost off, you can see that we're just trying to get a lot of 85s. We only put 1 point into passing because I talked about in my How to Train Midfielders guide how I think 88 passing is really as high as you should go. So it's not really a complicated build by any means. Unfortunately though, the finishing we can't get to 85. If we wanted to get it to 85, we could do something like this and then have 85 finishing, which honestly might be a better build. He's not going to be the most nimble because his balance isn't extremely high anyway. So you kind of choose between, do you want a higher dribbling build or a higher finishing in terms of the type of player Kevin De Bruyne is, and which build I think would be more effective. Honestly, I could see this higher finishing build being more effective. So yeah, I think Kevin De Bruyne does look very good. He's a player that I think is decent in this game. If we take a look at Kevin De Bruyne's skills, you can see here that he actually does start off with a lot of good skills. He is missing a couple though. He doesn't have double touch, so put double touch on alongside that soul control. And then a flip flap would work well as get that level 3 double touch. He does have very high weak foot, so you can put that double touch onto either foot. Then the next skill I would go for is acrobatic finishing, just to make him more of a finisher. And then you can doesn't have the greatest pace or balance, so he will be off balance at times when you're trying to dribble with him. Now, interestingly, he doesn't have long range curler, and if we look at his build again, he does have 97 curl and 91 kicking power on my build. So his long range curler should be effective once you give him the skill. So I'd go for that on him. And then for the last skill, I would think I'd put track back on him, just because if we take a quick look at the build, he does have 70 aggression. So I think track back would work very well on him. So I actually think this Kevin De Bruyne looks decent. So the next player we're going to move on to is Ronaldo, who also got a bullet header video. Player, I have a video on a training guide for the bullet header version, and I don't think this guy looks particularly good. If we take a look at his build, you can see here you can't really get anything meaningful out of him, except like he does have good finishing and kicking power, I guess, but his jumping isn't good and his dribbling's bad. Although this Ronaldo does have better balance than usual, and one thing I've said about Ronaldo is even if you give him good dribbling stats, his balance is never going to be great. So this is a pure striker build. Now, if we wanted, we could take off some finishing and level up the dribbling, but then his finishing is too low. So I do think, even though this one, well, I guess he doesn't even really have higher balance. It's just I'll put 13 points in to get the 85 on the acceleration. So I don't think actually he particularly has good balance. I just don't think this guy is very usable. If we take a look at his skills though, I'll give you recommendations for the skills. And off the top of my head, I do think Ronaldo is a player that you should kind of play off his aerial ability, but he just doesn't have the jump in here. I still think it is worth putting aerial superiority on him though, just to he might have good ID for it, for the headers. Then you'd probably go for a double touch just to kind of help him with that lower dribbling and his lack of dribbling ability. Then you can go for a super sub, just because I think the high offensive awareness and decent acceleration, I've said in my How to Train Attackers video, that's a very good combo if you put super sub on, because of the boost super sub gives to certain stats. And then you'd probably want to go for true pass as well, just because he actually has 70 passing by default, so you're probably going to get like a plus 20% onto that passing, so it should get to an okay level. And then because you're in my head anyway going to put aerial ability on him, or aerial superiority, sorry, you're going to use kind of crosses into him. So I'll play heel trick on just to help him if you're going to have to pass it and it's not at his head, kind of at his feet, a heel trick will help him with that. And then also like a cut behind and turn or a Marseille turn would be good on Ronaldo. I think most Ronaldos start with cut behind and turn. I feel like every time I've used Ronaldo he has it. So yeah, definitely put cut behind and turn, probably Marseille turn too. And then another skill, a last skill you could put on is probably soul control, just to help set up these kind of long range shots. So you're gonna have to choose which skill to sacrifice based on your kind of plans with him. Maybe super sub if you think he's gonna be a starter. And then the last player we're gonna look at obviously is Son, who I think actually does look decent when we look at his build. So let's pull it up, and you can see here this is before the boosts. He's got a lot of 85s acceleration, 87s on the kicking power, 85 ball control, and unfortunately though, his 84 finishing, it's going to be hard to get that with all those stats. So what you're going to have to do is, if you want the 85 finishing, which is what I'd recommend, you're going to have to sacrifice something here. And to be honest, I would probably sacrifice the dribbling to get the 85 finishing. So now you don't get the ball control boost, but I don't think it's a major issue. And then you're gonna have 2 points left over. You can go into lower body strength, maybe get 90 stamina, although I don't think I would be worried about that. Or maybe even into passing or aerial strength too. So I'd probably go for lower body just because it's already his strengths, just make it a little bit better. So yeah, I think Son looks very interesting. Surprisingly, he's a Roman flank, which I'm not sure we've had a Son as a Roman flank. I think that would be a very good playstyle on him. So if we take a look at his skills, obviously Son has very high weak foot. So what we're going to want to do is, he has double touch. You're going to want to give him flip flap and soul control to get that level 3 double touch. That'll make him very effective if you play him in the middle. He has first time shot and acrobatic finishing already, so we're lucky in that regard. So you're going to want to put true passing on him to help with his passing. Then you're going to go for a cut behind and turn or a Marseille turn. And then finally, if you're playing him out wide, think about pinpoint crossing. It'll help you if you want to cut inside. More often when you're shooting, I don't want to be cutting inside with Son. If you have pinpoint crossing on, if your opponent's covering the inside, you can go outside and hit a cross. And then you could put one touch pass on him, particularly if you're playing him left mid. I don't really recommend one touch pass on my forwards. But if you're playing them, let's say you're playing them left mid, one touch pass would be good and very effective. Left wing, kind of effective. And then a centre forward, I don't think it'd be majorly effective. So you could go for those skills, or also even super sub, just because on super sub he would be good because you can play him left mid, left wing, centre forward. So if you're trying to hold on to a lead, let's say you play left wing forwards, you can move him back to left mid, get a bit more defensive. Or if you're trying to chase a lead, obviously he has the option to play out wide and in the middle. So I do think these cards look very good. I've got a free spin here. We'll see who we get. And then I might do a review of some of these guys. So I think player I'd want the most is Son, just because he's a Roman flank. I've already got better versions of Ronaldo and KDB. So we have gotten Ronaldo. Okay, so I don't know if I'm going to use him. I might try about, maybe if we go into the RTG, we'll see who we get there and review them there.